You're scrolling through Yacht World at midnight like a rational adult, and there it is. 40 feet, classic sheer, teak everywhere. $40,000. Your brain says, that can't be right. Your heart says, that's blue water on beer budget. And that is exactly why we're here today. We're talking about the Bristol 39 and Bristol 40. Same bones, slightly different badge. Designed by Ted Hood, built in Rhode Island, proper pedigree, and right now you can find them sitting in the market for about 40 grand. So the question isn't, is it cheap? The question is, why? And by the end of this, you're going to know exactly what you're buying, what you're compromising, and whether this is a budget cruising hero or a classic that you need to approach with your eyes wide open. Bristol Yachts was founded in 1964 by Clint Pearson. That's right, one of the Pearson cousins. And yes, he worked at Pearson, but then they split up. And when people talk about the Pearson breakup, it sounds like some dramatic yacht club feud. In reality, it's a classic American growth story. Pearson Yachts was absolutely exploding after the Triton hit the New York Boat Show in 1959. Orders poured in, payroll ballooned, cash flow got tight. Success was coming in faster than stability was, so the Pearsons did what a lot of fast-growing companies do. They brought in some serious capital. By 1960, Grumman had bought a controlling interest in Pearson. Grumman was a major American aerospace and defense manufacturer. We're talking fighter jets, lunar modules, Cold War hardware. And once you go from cousins owning a fiberglass dust shop to a corporate oversight sort of situation with quarterly reporting, the culture changes. The boats were still great, but it wasn't the same founder-run shop anymore. Over time, that corporate environment started to chafe with the Pearson cousins. So in 1964, Clint Pearson left and did something very telling. He didn't retire with the money, he didn't fade away. He immediately bought assets from another sailboat builder and started Bristol Yachts. In other words, the Bristol 39 and 40 exist because Clint wasn't about to build boats someone else's way. He wanted to do it his way. And that's not scandal, that's philosophy. And when you sail a Bristol, you're sailing the product of that reset. From the beginning, Bristol leaned heavy into conservative East Coast cruising DNA. Solid glass hulls, traditional shapes, low freeboard, no fashion experiments. These weren't boats trying to win the marina beauty pageant with beam and volume. These were boats that were meant to go sailing. The Bristol 39 shows up in 1966. The Bristol 40 follows in 1970, largely an evolution of the same boat. Over the combined production run, you get roughly a couple hundred boats. Not mass production, but enough to prove that the design had staying power. And then there's the name behind it, Ted Hood, America's Cup winner, legendary sailmaker, a designer who understood balance and sail shape and the difference between theoretical performance and what actually works out on the water. This wasn't some anonymous fiberglass era sketch. This was a naval architect building within the CCA rulebook. Now, let's talk about that rulebook for a minute because this boat screams CCA. CCA were the offshore racing rules of the time. Basically, sailing was so popular that whatever the racing rules were, the manufacturers would build their boats specific to fit inside that rule box. It's like NASCAR of the era. And CCA boats were built specifically to fit into this rule book. Long overhangs, narrow beam, low freeboard. When the boat's sitting at the dock, the waterline looks pretty modest. When she heels, the ends of the boat immerse and suddenly the effective waterline stretches. That was the trick. The CCA rule measured static waterlines, so designers created boats that grew when they leaned over, which means this boat is designed to sail on its ear. And that's your first reality check if you're looking at buying one of these. Owners consistently describe the Bristol 40 as initially tender. She heels quickly. She rewards reefing early, so get good at reefing. If you're coming from a modern, beamy cruiser that stands upright like a refrigerator, this is going to feel different. The rail will get very friendly with the water. The motion will feel lively. And that's not bad design. That's era-specific CCA design. That was the point. But you have to be comfortable with that. Construction-wise, there's some very good news. The hull is solid glass, not cord or cord below the waterline. We're talking thick laminate, matte and woven roving everywhere. This was built in the era when fiberglass was treated like armor plating. Nobody was shaving ounces off. The keel is not a bolt-on affair either, with a handful of stainless studs waiting to become a forum thread. The Bristol 40 uses a molded keel cavity filled with roughly 6,500 pounds of lead. Essentially encapsulated ballast. You're not going to lose the keel. That's a big psychological win in today's market. And the motion you get from that keel is much more friendly to folks with squeamish stomachs. Sailing or at anchor, she'll be more stable. She'll move slower, less twitchy. The decks are cored, as expected, and at 40 plus 50 years old, you should assume you'll be chasing leaks. Port lights, stanchion bases, chain plates. This is not scandal, that's age. If you go look at one of these, bring a moisture meter. The hull to deck joint is conservative inward flange style, mechanically fastened and bonded. It's repairable, it's understandable, it's nothing exotic. So structurally, these boats are not fragile. Now let's get to the part that makes people kind of lean forward when you're looking at these older boats. Stability. Various published data and analysis suggest the positive riding moment on a fixed keel version of this boat disappears somewhere around 120 degrees. And on top of that, the centerboard version is like 110 degrees. For offshore work, most of us like to see numbers well north of that. So when we talk about blue water, we have to be honest about this boat. This is not a modern wide-body cruiser with massive form stability and a huge riding arm curve. The Bristol 40 relies on ballast and narrow hull form. It heels more easily. It doesn't resist the heel the way a modern 13-foot beam cruiser does. Thousands of boats like this have already crossed oceans, so let's not rewrite history, but math is math. If you want more modern stability characteristics, you're looking at a different era of design. Then on this boat, there's the interior. This is technically a 40-footer, but with a beam just over 10 feet, it feels closer to what we'd now call maybe a 34. You walk below and you get a traditional layout. V-berth forward, head just aft, main saloon with opposing settees, galley and nav desk, a quarter berth tucked aft. Warm teak joinery, solid craftsmanship, it feels like a boat, not an apartment. If you're shopping for interior volume per dollar, this is not the leader. If you're shopping for sea-kindly proportions and traditional ergonomics when you're underway, this starts to make more sense. The cockpit is large on these boats, very comfortable, great for social sailing, but drainage has been criticized as modest relative to cockpit size. Offshore-minded owners who expect to possibly take a wave often look at upgrading scuppers and improving companionway protection. Again, this is the difference between coastal cruising optimism and real offshore realism. Under power, you have an aperture prop and keel-attached rudder. This tracks beautifully in a seaway and protects the prop. It also means reverse handling is an acquired skill. Prop walk will become your close personal friend. Docking is something you learn, not something the boat makes easy for you. Rig-wise, you're going to see sloops, cutters, and yawls. The yawl looks magnificent in photographs like a calendar model, but it adds complexity and windage. The cutter arguably makes the most sense for practical cruising. Whichever configuration you're looking at, chain plates deserve careful inspection. The alignment and bedding and stainless fatigue. These boats are old enough that rigging updates are part of the responsibility of owning one of them. So why are they $40,000? Well, they're old, systems age, engines age, tanks corrode, wiring gets pretty creative over decades. They're narrow compared to modern boats. They're like a cave inside. The modern market currently worships beam and interior space, and they require you to actually sail them. They reward balance and reefing, not brute form stability. The market discounts that when these things show up for sale, but that doesn't make them bad boats. It makes them boats from a sort of different era, a different philosophy. If what you want is a floating condo that stands upright in 20 knots while you grill burgers, this boat isn't it. If what you want is a traditional, solid-built, hood-designed cruiser that'll track like it's on rails and move kindly offshore, then $40,000 starts to look like an interesting proposition. Just understand that the purchase price is the beginning of the story with one of these, not the end. You're likely to invest in systems. You may upgrade drainage in the cockpit. You'll almost certainly refresh rigging and hardware. The Bristol 39 and 40 are not secretly cheap because they're flawed. They're cheap because design fashion has changed. Beams got wider, interiors got bigger, stability curves got fatter, and these boats stayed exactly what they were: narrow, elegant, conservative CCA-era cruisers. So is it a budget cruiser? Sure. Is it buyer beware? You go in with some education. If you buy it for what it is, sail it the way it was designed to be sailed, and budget realistically for the upgrades every 40, 50-year-old boat needs, then this 40 might be one of the most honest ways to go cruising on a limited budget. If you buy it thinking you're getting a modern 40-foot experience for 1980s money, you're going to be surprised, and not in a good way. For more information on this boat, we've got a great article on the Practical Sailor site called Bristol 39 and 40 Used Boat Review. The looks of these twins are strictly traditional, but so is the interior room. Modern 33-footers have more. It's a great follow-up to this video. I'll leave a link in the description for you. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Really helps us out, but also it lets YouTube know that you like sailboat videos, so it'll show you more of them. How cool is that? Also, don't forget to hit subscribe so I can see you again next time.